Notice of this meeting was given to all board members and associates in a meeting notice dated July 8th, 2024. Furthermore, on that date, a copy of such notice was sent to the Times, their Chantonian, and the clerk of the Township of Hamilton. It was also posted on the bulletin board at the entrance to the boardroom in the Hamilton Square Administrative Building. Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ms. Soto? Ms. Stanton?
He's on our way.
Byrne?
Here.
Mr. Salentano?
Mr. Salentano won't be here this evening.
Dr. Farrar?
Here.
Ms. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Kanka?
Here.
Dr. McSheen?
Dr. McSheen will not be here either.
Ms. Thornton?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Ms. Soto is entered.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Whereas NJSA 10:4-13 requires adoption of the board to go into executive session, be it resolved that the board pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, New Jersey Title 18A, and the Hamilton Township Board of Education Bylaw number 0166, hereby enter executive session to discuss a matter involving human resource matters and matters falling under the attorney-client privilege. Be it further resolved that the minutes of this executive session shall be made public following formal action by the board and/or at the conclusion of any investigation, due process proceeding, or litigation, so long as not prohibited by law and so long as the need for maintaining confidentiality no longer exists.
We are going right across the hallway.
Call the meeting back to order. And we're going to start with the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody, and I hope everyone's having a great summer. I have a few items for July for the superintendent's report. Summer camp started last week. This year, it's our largest enrollment with 763 campers registered and 23 camp sessions sold out. And it's great to see our students enjoying our HTSD summer camp sessions. Last week, our district and building leaders came together for 3 days of professional development. First, I want to take a moment to thank the Grounds for Sculpture for providing their facility to us on day one and for leading us through an exciting team building activity. On day one, activities included team building, multi-tiered systems of support training, block schedule preparation, professional development planning for next year, school performance report review, student behavior expectations / de-escalation, technology for leaders, and we worked with artificial intelligence, supporting the L students, families, and teachers, and building community and family trust. On day two, activities included school safety tabletop scenario, CPR, AED, and first aid certification, school safety training, EpiPen, Narcan, and Stop the Bleed training, and then opening day, first day faculty meeting preparation. Day three included school safety tabletop scenario, all the items I listed in day two, and then we did big picture data reviews on student behavior, HIB, attendance, and academics, and then we did goal setting at the district, building, and leader levels. So it was a very productive 3 days. Approximately each week, I've been sending out a superintendent's 60-second summer update for our community on what's going on during the summer in HTSD. The PD information I just described was just sent out today as part of our third video series in this update for the summer. We are also diligently working on our chronic absenteeism numbers each year. Our preliminary numbers for the 23-24 school year indicate that 17 of our 23 schools are lower in our chronic absenteeism rate, and the lower is better. Year over year as compared to last year, the 5 schools that did not decrease year over year were just slightly up. Also, 5 of our schools have a chronic absenteeism rate below 10%, which is an outstanding rate. We've also received some preliminary numbers on the AP exams taken in the spring at our 3 high schools. First, let me remind everyone that we have 26 AP classes, and every student who takes an AP class must take the exam. Thanks to the Board of Education, this is at no cost to our students. We also work each spring to encourage more students to take AP classes while developing programming to help students earn a 3, 4, or 5 on the exam. Scoring a 3 or higher will earn students college credit at most colleges. So our data shows an increase in the number of exams taken, which means the enrollment is increasing, and we see an increase in the number of students getting 3s, 4s, and 5s. So how does this work out per building? West had 63 more exams taken this spring and saw an increase of 13% of the students receiving a 3 or higher on the AP exams. East had 70 more exams taken this spring and saw an increase of 10% in the number of students receiving a 3, 4, or 5 on the AP exams. And North had 61 more exams taken this spring and saw a 13% increase in the number of students receiving a 3, 4, or 5 on the AP exams. This is very exciting for us. Not only the number of students increasing that are taking the test, but the number of students receiving a 3, 4, or 5 are increasing. And just a reminder to the community, we have signed off on an agreement with the College of New Jersey where all 26 of the AP exams will count for college credit for students who get a C or higher on those, who get a C or higher in the class for the 4 marking periods. Finally, we have a lot of work going on in the district. You can see some of it as you came in here today. Nottingham has some work being done, and I will be keeping the district updated on the progress, and we are posting on our website the list of all of the projects being done this summer. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Rocco. Do I have any Board of Education members that have any announcements? I'll actually start with Ms. Soto. Dr. Ferrara.
I do, thank you. I had the honor of delivering the remarks during Steinert's graduation ceremonies, and it was my 3rd appearance at a Steinert graduation. I think I'm typecast. And I have to say that this year's ceremony was very joyous and moving for me. And I sent a note to Principal Brian Rogers, and I wanted to share some of what I told him. Dear Mr. Rogers, the salutatorian certainly gave voice to the angst and challenges this class faced during the pandemic. She referenced the upheaval students felt with the changing of principals. Her shout out to Counselor Ann Wilmot served as a window to the work teachers, guidance counselors, and other staff do on a daily basis. Honestly, this student served as the class phoenix rising from the COVID ashes. The valedictorian reminded us again that for people around the world, America is still a beacon of freedom and opportunity. That she spoke to her family in her native language and translated for us was pure magic. She put a face on the diversity that HTSD has become. Her energy and enthusiasm was contagious. But truly for me, the most amazing moments were when students received their degrees while wrapping their arms around you. Not like bears, but like boa constrictors. I couldn't see your face, but I could see their faces, and there was pure love in those smiles. So I have to conclude that much of the difference in ceremonies comes from your leadership and quiet presence in the lives of students, teachers, and staff. It is a remarkable change in 2 short years.
Thank you, Dr. Ferrara. Ms. Stanton?
I don't have any announcements, but I do have some questions that I wanted to raise to the board and our staff that had come from different members of the community with students in the district. With our presentation that we'd had on MTSS, there are still some questions from the community, so I just wanted to put those out there. We had folks asking who will be teaching MTSS. I don't think it was clear as to whether it's going to be the classroom teacher, outside resources. What qualifies a student for each tier? What data would put them into which tier? What's the determining factor for that? if parents will be involved in the same way that they might be alerted when there's going to be an evaluation or something to do with an IEP, if parents are going to know the process of what tier their child is in and why, and what these supports and interventions would look like in the classroom. So, and these were a few different families that had reached out to me and some other things that I'd seen, just questions posted on social media in reference to it. So I, like I said, just wanted to see if we can get those questions answered and possibly give some more information to the community regarding that. Sure,
I was just going to
absolutely.
ask Ms.
Yeah.
Stanton, can you please
Yep.
forward those questions to Dr. Rocco?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ms. Harvey?
Well, I know Dr. Rocco mentioned this summer camp program. I just wanted to say that I had the pleasure of going last week during Camp One's performances. If you don't know, the students who are in any sort of performing camp, so that includes an acting camp, band camp, orchestra camp, and even sign language camp. So the students actually put on what they learned during the week on the last day of camp, and that tradition will be every week of camp. So, and I just wanted to note how talented these students were, and that even the orchestra actually performed a song that was written by a former Hamilton teacher. So I thought that was a very admirable thing, and that they did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Mrs. Byrne?
Not tonight.
Mr. Kanka?
I have nothing.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Kanka. Well, actually, so we're going to move right into committee reports, and now I'm going to start with you, if I can, for Finance and Operation Committee.
Really?
Yes.
You want to swap?
Good evening, Good evening. The Finance and Operations Committee met for their initiatives meeting on July the 10th at, I believe it was 12:30 in the afternoon. We usually meet at 8:30 in the morning, but there was some scheduling conflicts. And I would just like to thank all those who attended, the committee and the senior staff. Our first item was communications from Dr. Rocco, which he discussed today in his report about the 60-second summer updates. And he also discussed the administration, the 3-day administrative PD. Then we moved into our items. We only had a few items this time. Food service was the big item, was the hot topic this month. We talked about the free and reduced lunch programs, the free lunches that are going to still continue at Greenwood and HEP. There was also a conversation about expanding that program, but that's going to be evaluated for another year before we make a decision on what we're going to do with that program, because it appears that when you get free lunches or the free lunch program, it affects some of your funding from the state and the federal government. So we're going to the administration is going to evaluate what's going to be most advantageous to the district. Then we had we talked about the debt that has incurred with the lunch program, and it has all come down to, it turns out that the debt is about $490,000 for the lunch program, and 148,000 of those dollars were students that didn't sign up for the free and reduced program that were eligible for that program. So we cannot recover that money. So that money came out of the general fund to cover that debt. So that leaves us with a debt of about $344,000 that we're going to have to transfer out of out of our general fund to cover that debt. And as I've said all along, we have to figure out a way to get these parents to fill out this paperwork. $344,000, well, actually $490-some thousand is money that we could be using for other programs, or a staff member, for the children. And if you don't fill out the paperwork, we have to pay it. And when we pay it, it's got to come out of the surplus. So when that happens, then we have a reduced surplus, and then it makes it tougher to balance the budget next year. So I spoke to Mrs. Atwood about some initiatives that we can do to get the parents to comply with these filling out these applications. I had a conversation on a personal note. I had a conversation with my neighbor who probably would be eligible for that program. They never filled out the paperwork. But we have to feed the children, and we incur this debt because the families don't fill the paperwork out. So I'm pleading with the people in the district, the mothers, the fathers, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, whatever, to get this paperwork filled out so we don't incur this type of debt, and we can reduce our debt for next year. Then we moved on to summer projects, and like Dr. Rocco stated, the list is so long that we decided to have it put on the website. So I'm hoping it'll be on by the end of the week, and it'll have every single. Oh, never mind. It's up now. We just had the conversation this afternoon. Thank you. So if anybody has any questions on any of the projects that are going on, because I could sit up here and talk for an hour about what's going on, but if you'll see what's going on. You'll see the amount of money that's being spent in the district, and how we're trying to improve things every day. And as you all know, we only have a small window of opportunity. When school gets out on the 20th of June, we have until the end of April or end of August to get hundreds of projects done. And then we have to have the custodians come in, and they're going to need a couple days to clean all the schools up so the kids can come in to a nice clean school. So those projects are online, and it's on the district website. You don't have to really search for it; it's right there. We also discussed we had to put in applications for dual-use bathrooms for pre-K and K bathrooms. There was a waiver submitted to the Department of Ed. There are a couple of rooms that we have. I believe there's 4 or 5 rooms that children have to be escorted to the rooms because the bathrooms aren't directly in their room. So they will be escorted by a staff member if they have to go to the bathroom. And this is something it's been going on for years. So we discussed that application to the DOE. We also had a brief conversation about our construction manager. We had previously approved them till October of 2024. We would like to extend that to May of 25 to allow them to be involved in the pre-bid for the 25 summer projects. And since there's so many projects going on, we're looking to possibly put on a third on-site project manager to get us through these multiple projects we have in the summer and get them done so the schools are ready to open. And that was it. And then we had a brief conversation about the update on the new charter school, and we concluded our meeting at that time, and our next meeting is scheduled for August the 13th at 8:30 a.m. And that concludes my report on facilities.
Okay, thank you,
Anybody have
Mr.
a
Kemp.
question?
Any questions?
I have a
Dr. Farrar?
Yes,
The list, is it on the website or in the library? The
on the
list,
website,
it's on the website, okay.
yes.
Are we going for the same project manager, which has been really a good
Yeah.
company, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
New Roads is still gonna be here.
Okay, good. And for lunch, to get free and reduced lunch, people have to self-identify, correct? There's no way we can identify people and then, like, go and find them or invite them to a meet and greet or something to get this paperwork filled out?
Well, it's hard to say because, with nearly 12,000 students, you don't know where to look. It could be anybody. I never even expected the people across the street from me to be eligible.
Well, that's what I mean. There's nothing in the enrollment process or anything that identifies.
Well, I think we're sort of looking into what we can do during the enrollment process. So,
There's certain automatic free and reduced, and those are people that are on other type of programs. So we do automatically get people registered. If you're homeless, you're automatic, or if you're already on some other social programs. So that's one. Two, you can't say, I think you're free and reduced, and I'm going to make you free and reduced. But we certainly are able, which is where we want to try to do more of, is help people complete the application. You are allowed to do that. And last year we started having people stay overtime to call families and help them, at least encourage them. That's the only way. It really starts with the school, though, and the counselors and people that know the family, not my office.
Can we work through the churches and I guess I should rephrase that. Are we working through the churches?
That's, with our new food service company, we have a new position, which is one of the reasons why we wanted that. It's called a community liaison coordinator, and that's part of what I envision them doing, not only helping us reach out with the schools and partnering with parents, but also with communities just like that. Because again, same thing, they may know or be able to help us schedule times to sit down and complete, because some of our area, we've learned, to help complete the other food program applications that I talked about, the SNAP program and other things like that. We should partner with them to complete the form at the same time.
Is the district allowed, so I'm just thinking, for example, and I'm just going to use St. Philip's because they've been such a great partner over the years. Would somebody from the district be allowed to go into St. Philip's and talk? I mean, if they invited us in, would that we could do something like that?
Want to answer that? I mean,
Possibly, we have,
Yeah.
possibly, but we also have a lot of community opportunities with our pop-up schoolhouses and different things that are going on. But again, once we get the new food service online in the person, we can talk about those as opportunities to go in and meet people at different locations, including churches and other places.
Okay.
yeah, the new company with the community liaison is going to present some new initiatives for us to help. It's not going to help us out what happened in the past, but in the future to reduce the debt from climbing as quickly as it has. So
Mr. Kanka, so when you say we have to feed all the kids, I'm just trying to understand, there's no cash involved at the cafeteria, is that? And any student who comes in who wants a lunch, are they given a lunch? How does
Yes.
that work?
yes, we can't deny a child a lunch. Everybody
Okay.
gets lunch, and they all have lunch. They have lunch cards.
They have lunch cards. So legally, I don't know, maybe this is a question for Patrick, is there a way that if the student accrues a balance over, let's say, $100, can we send out notification to the family and say,
But we do that.
we do that?
Yeah.
And then we're still not getting payment from the family? That's what's happening?
Yes.
And so does this new food program have some ideas of how we can deal with that?
They have some initiatives that can help us out. We're hoping. So when we start with them, we'll.
I mean, other big school districts, I'm sure, are dealing with this as well. How do they deal with, so that we're not accruing such a big balance in the future?
There's no foolproof way of addressing it. I think it's trying different things and seeing what we can, how we can maximize exposure to families, to tell them, fill out the form, here are the opportunities. So lots of districts are having this. This is a national issue. It's brought up at a lot of conferences. So there's no clear-cut way of addressing it.
Because legally, we're not allowed to, like, if they hit a certain balance, we're not allowed to say, okay, no free lunch here. That's what's happening. And that's a state initiative?
I think it's state law, but it also, we wouldn't want to do that. I mean, years ago, we spoke about not providing a student an alternative, like some districts gave a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a tuna sandwich. And we spoke about sometimes kids come to school here, this is the only time they get a balanced lunch. And it's important for kids to have a balanced lunch. So professionally, I wouldn't feel it's appropriate either.
Right.
And to answer legally, New Jersey did pass a law
Right.
forbidding any type of actions that would hurt the child, like you can't prevent them from going to prom, you can't prevent them from walking in graduation, you certainly can't give them an alternative meal. Basically, you can't do anything that would hurt the student. And in fact, you're not even supposed to even let this, even those, all those letters we mail, we're only supposed to give it to the parents. We're not even supposed to give it to the students, although we do put it in their backpack to go home sometimes.
Thank you.
See, the thing is I spoke with Mrs. Atwood about this, and if we do anything to the child, we're punishing the child for the parents' actions, and we can't do that. So if the parents don't want to cooperate, we just have to figure out a way to get them to cooperate. But we're not going to punish the students for that.
Ms. Soto?
Anybody else?
Ms. Soto? Well, so just another follow-up question to this topic. Ms. Atwood, remind me, I think, if I recall correctly, when during the COVID years and the state was covering the school lunches, I felt like, or if I remember correctly, I thought I had to fill out a form regardless if I wanted the food or not those years. Was that?
A free and reduced form?
Yeah.
We did for purposes of reporting free and reduced for state aid we still use who is free and reduced for other mechanisms of reporting to the state for money. You were supposed to still complete the form, yes.
So do we still do that?
We do, but what the state did at that time, they froze it. They didn't, usually every year you have to complete the form every year. During COVID, they didn't take people off the list who were free and reduced pre-COVID. So that's why we still wanted you to complete the forms. It didn't take anybody off the list, if that makes any sense. That all changed post-COVID. So now if you're free and reduced in the school year of 23-24, you are still free and reduced until a certain date in October. And if you haven't completed that form by that date, every year it changes, then we will start charging you immediately.
All right, so I get what maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, but I thought I had to sign a waiver that I did not need it. I had to specifically say I'm not eligible or I do not need it.
I may guess which school you went to. Some schools did do that, but it's a very interesting, I'm going to say this to everybody now, because a new law just passed starting this fall that is required for everybody. So the state passed now a law that everybody has to complete the form or check that you're not eligible.
Okay. And
Now, of course, there's no penalty if you don't do that, but it's now a law. But some of our schools did that, sent it home and asked for you to check that off.
okay. And I just brought it up because I thought that would possibly be another mechanism to help us get more information, making it mandatory across the board, whether.
And also that law requires us to send home a hard copy to everybody, which has changed too. We have to send a hard copy home or send to every parent starting this fall, a hard copy of the application. A lot of printing.
So we're contacting every family, is what you're saying, in the fall? We have to provide a hard copy application to every family
starting in the fall, where we have historically only done it if schools requested it. Some schools like to do that, some don't. It's all electronic. The new law required a hard copy to be given at the start, as well as when you register and other things, but a hard copy. It also required everybody to complete the form, so we will be sending that information out. Please complete the form. It's now a state law, or there'll be a form to be provided by the department, which we haven't seen yet, but there's going to be some form that you could check off and say, I'm not eligible. I've read the instructions, I'm not eligible.
In multiple languages?
Well, we certainly will put it in multiple languages, yes.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I just had a question. Mr. Kenke, you'd mentioned Hep and Greenwood get free lunch.
Yes.
Are there other schools in the district that do as well?
No, not
Is
at
there,
this time.
why is that decided that those two did?
Because the program that's currently available that we could possibly be eligible for has to be, we have to study that program to find out what effect it has on our funding. Because when you get free lunch, you also lose funding. We have to find out what the balance is and what's most advantageous to the district.
Okay, all right,
When you lose funding, obviously you're going to lose programs.
right. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kanka, could you give us an update on negotiations committee as well?
I could do that.
Thank you.
The committee hasn't really met for a while under HTEA. The committee hasn't really met for a while. We've been going back and forth with some emails to the negotiation chairs and to the negotiator for the NJEA and our board attorney Patrick Carrick. So we haven't. We're probably 99.5% done. We're just stuck on one or two items right at this point, and we're trying to work those out and hopefully get this thing straightened out, hopefully in the next week or so. But we'll know more, probably, I'm going to say into August, if anything, so we'll have to see what happens. As far as the directors, we have our first meeting set up with the directors on August the 7th. I've been in conversation with Dr. Altabello, and that's the date that we all chose, to start the negotiations. And he didn't have a problem with that. But we wanted to get it. We tried to get it done before June the 30th. It just wasn't happening because we were just so darn close with the HTEA, and then a couple things came up at the last minute, and it just sort of, the calendar got away from us. And then with the vacation schedules in July, it turns out that August the 7th was our next available date for our committee plus their committee.
Thank you, Mr.
And that's all I
Kanka.
have.
Thank you, Mr. Kanka. Dr. Ferrara, can you go through the Curriculum and Instruction Committee report?
I can, thank you. Good evening, everyone. The CNI committee has actually had 2 meetings since the June board meeting. The first was held on Friday, June 21st. All committee members were present and Mrs. Thornton joined us. We were asked to review 2 different math textbook programs. One is for the elementary level and one for the high school level. The middle schools received new math texts at the start of the 21-22 school year. Mr. Scotto follows the same protocol for selecting texts in that he forms a committee of teachers to review several options, which ultimately leads to a selection. Committee members include general education math teachers, special education teachers, sometimes resource room teachers. It's a volunteer situation. Math supervisor comes, and Mr. Scotto is on the committee. Each new math program that the district is getting is robust in that it provides many avenues of learning for students. The programs align with one another from elementary to middle school to high school. The new K-5 program is called Envision Mathematics. The program aligns with the state standards. It is adaptable to the multi-tiered system of supports that the district is going to start using. There are ways to differentiate lessons for students depending on their needs and understanding. The committee liked the fact that there are family resources, including instructional videos that students can use to review and parents can use to help with homework. There are additional resources for multilingual students and special education students. Teachers like the available instructional resources. The 5th grade program dovetails nicely into the 6th grade math program. Ms. Stanton and I really like the manipulatives because we both love Montessori math, which relies heavily on manipulatives, and there are manipulatives in this program that we're getting. Mr. Scotto set up a display in the superintendent's office so we could examine the text and the supplemental offerings. At the high school level, the district is purchasing new texts for high school Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Middle school students in accelerated math will also be using the Algebra 1 and Geometry texts, and this program is called Reveal Math. Again, these texts were selected by committee. These new texts come with many of the same resources the new elementary school texts come with: family resources, resources for multilingual students and special ed students. Teachers will be able to easily adapt content when the district moves from the 40-minute periods to 80-minute periods in the 25-26 school year. And because the district needs these resources in time for opening, the committee agreed to allow Mr. Scotto to order the elementary and high school programs. So tonight, the entire board will be asked to approve the math programs under motion 12. Additionally, at motion 11, which ties into this, the board will vote to decommission the old algebra and geometry textbooks. The committee's July meeting was held on July 10th, and again, all 3 members attended. This meeting also revolved around acquiring new textbooks. In this case, the texts are for AP Psychology and AP World History Modern. These are both high school textbooks. Committee members were provided links to review the offerings. The AP World History Modern is a new addition to the district's AP class offerings. Mr. Scotto used 2 committees of teachers from all 3 high schools to review a number of books. In both cases, the selected texts offer the following benefits. They align with the AP exam, and I want to be clear here, aligning to an exam is not teaching to the exam. I have talked about this before when referencing Regents exams in New York State. Our texts and courses aligned with a Regents exam, and our teachers designed homework assignments and test questions and lessons which looked like the Regents exam. They did not teach from old Regents exams or even from the Regents exam review book. That would be a teaching to an exam. The texts offer an online platform for teachers and students. There is an audio component to the online platform which will support students who need audio assistance. Students will be using documents to answer document-based questions in the AP history class. Students will be answering long-form history and essay questions. The AP history text is titled Ways of the World, A Global History with Sources. The AP psychology text is titled Myers Psychology for the AP course. These texts are endorsed by the AP board. The AP History Modern, as I said, is a new course and brings the total, as Dr. Rocco pointed out, to 26 AP courses in the district. These AP texts are also listed in motion 12 along with the math textbooks. The committee was given a link to review the district's summer professional development offerings. There are 28 PD offerings this summer for staff members who want to take them, including a 6-week class for support staff titled Mastering Google Workspace. And I think that's all.
Thank you, Dr. Farrar.
Sure.
Does anyone have any questions on Dr. Farrar's curriculum and instruction report? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Soto, would you like to give our personnel committee report?
Yes. On behalf of Dr. McSheen, be giving tonight's report. The Personnel Committee met at 4:15 on Wednesday, July 10th. I was in attendance along with Dr. McSheen, Ms. Thornton, Dr. Rocco, and senior staff. Ms. Atwood and Dr. Rocco reviewed items that were addressed with all three committees, which Mr. Kenka had discussed in length: the reduced lunch program, the dual use applications, and the pre-K kindergarten bathroom waivers. We also discussed and reviewed the TCNJ HTSD partnership that creates a pathway to teacher certification for high school senior students with ESL, multilingual, or bilingual endorsement. This is on tonight's agenda as personnel item number 15, TCNJ HTSD partnership for pathway to teacher certification for high school students. This program will address the shortage of certified bilingual and multilingual and ESL teachers. TCNJ is applying for a U.S. Department of Education National Professional Development Grant, which helps districts build their own resources for bilingual and multilingual ESL teachers. The partnership between TCNJ and HTSD will identify and recruit HTSD high school seniors with bilingual, multilingual backgrounds to improve their language proficiency and prepare them for a future teaching career. It will enroll them in the program for urban education and world language with bilingual, multilingual ESL certifications at TCNJ. It will provide the recruited high school seniors with 2 pre-college courses free of charge during their senior year, credit the 2 pre-college courses towards their college degree before enrolling at TCNJ, provide scholarships for the recruited high school seniors in the amount of $15,000 to $21,000 per student. That would cover all of the ESL bilingual certification courses. It will require the recruited high school seniors to commit to returning to the Hamilton Township School District as bilingual content ESL teachers for an agreed upon period of time. So it is an exciting potential partnership that will hopefully address the national teaching shortage in this area. We also discussed a revision to the 12-month instructional technology facilitator job description and proposed a 10-month instructional technology facilitator and proposed an additional instructional technology facilitator. These 2 job descriptions are under personnel item number 14. We discussed the proposed salary adjustment for the attendance investigator noted in personnel item number 10. And finally, we were provided with an update on the vacancies by school and subject area and had a brief discussion regarding staff that are shared between multiple buildings. I also have the DCR report on behalf of Lady Cassandra Hodges-Jones.
Thank you.
The leadership team, the committee has voted and would like to welcome Sarah Gibson as the chair for the Recruitment and Retention Subcommittee and Nicholas Hoover as the co-chair for the Discipline Subcommittee. They are still looking for a chair and co-chair for the Curriculum Subcommittee, as well as co-chairs for the Climate and Culture Subcommittee and one for the Recruitment and Retention Subcommittee. So if anyone is interested or knows of anyone that's interested, please have them reach out to dcr@htsdnj.org. The DCR committee is looking forward to participating in the upcoming pop-up schoolhouse events. Please feel free to stop by the table to receive more information and sign up to be a committee member. Membership is open to all stakeholders of the district, students, families, community members, and staff. The membership form is also available on the web page, on the district website under the community tab. Meeting dates for the upcoming year have been posted to the web page as well. Thank you very much, and we look forward to making every day count.
Thank you, Ms. Soto. Do I have any questions in regards to the Personnel Committee? Dr. Farrar?
Dr. Rocco, can you kind of tease out some stuff on this TCNJ agreement? These are seniors in high school who will be taking these classes during their senior year while they're with us and then go to TCNJ. There's no abbreviation to their four-year college
No,
degree.
not at
Okay,
all.
that's what I thought.
Any other questions? Okay, so we'll move to our monthly suspension report. Do I have any questions or comments? Mr. Kanka?
I reviewed the data that was posted, presented to us, and without naming any particular schools, I hope the administration takes a hard look at some of these numbers and comes up with some type of a plan to try to decrease some of these increases in suspension. I mean, we have an increase in one school at 49% over year. So I just want to make sure that we have some type of plan to try to address these issues.
We've been working on that all last year, and we're working on it next year. And I have to look at where that percentage is of an increase, but overall, the numbers have been decreasing year over year. So I'll take a look at that with Dr. Altabello as we do our year-end report.
Not in the secondary school, in the elementary levels, I was really pleased with what I saw there. But in the secondary schools, and I understand that, a lot of this is just from the pandemic. Kids are just starting. I thought it would get better from 22, 23 into 23,
Well,
24.
I think and if you're talking about just days, also understand when we talk about a plan, one of the things we put in place this year is if you engage in a fight, it's an automatic 9 days.
I know that.
So we've increased the days exponentially on the suspension. So the day numbers have come up. We need to look at the incident numbers.
Correct.
So that's what we need to look at,
Right.
not the number of days, because those were going to go up no matter what, because we automatically told kids it's 9 days. And we have numerous incidents in which the students were getting into a heated exchange and chose the right thing to do, which was not to get into a physical altercation and to deal with it another way because they were going to get an automatic 9 days. And that's been reported multiple times. So we need to look at versus the number of days, we need to look at the number of incidents.
So if we can get the incidents put on here, maybe we can have a different conversation. But as we all know, students that aren't in school aren't learning.
Correct.
So, and that affects our test scores all along. So I just would like to see if it's a fighting incident, it's the 9 days. I would like to, what's provocating all these issues with the students is that they're cooped up one day because they've been in school for 2 or 3 days in a row and it's hot out and they got cabin fever. I don't know. We got to figure out how we can get these kids to like each other, if that's even possible.
Just a piggyback question,
Dr.
just on Mr. Kanka's comment. Isn't the way I had read them as 2 different columns under the report, that the number of out-of-school suspensions, that would be like the incident. So if there's 2 kids involved in a fight and both are suspended, then that's 2 in that column. And then the number of days would be 18.
That's 18 days, yeah.
Okay.
You are right.
Dr. Farrar, did you have a question?
Well, I just have a comment. When you look at these reports, remember to think about what other programs are in the building. Because sometimes some of our self-contained programs, and I'm thinking of a couple different schools, drive up the numbers because those kids are in those programs to learn how to manage behavior. So you also have to take that into consideration too.
I just wanted to bring it up because we're in the summer break right now, and maybe we can, administration can have a conversation on try to have some type of a plan going forward to try to just even cut down on the incidents if possible.
Oh, Dr. Rocco can tell you, I talk to Dr. Altabello every single month about this.
And it is part of every principals meeting every month. We actually just talked about it at the PD day. It was part of one of the items we went over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on the monthly health report, which, I have one? And then the monthly HIB report? Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we will move to hearing of the public on agenda items. I do have 3 individuals signed up, but I do have to ask, Ms. Kirkhoff, did you cross your name off of this one, or are you still speaking on this one? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. My apologies. Okay. So I'll call each one of you up individually. Please come up to the microphone, just state your name and address, and you do have the 4 minutes, okay? So we'll start with Mary Woodall.
I just want to read a letter. This is for in regards to my granddaughter.
Ms. Woodall, can you just thank you, Dr. Farrar.
And the copies, do I give it to somebody? Thank you. My name is Mary Woodall. I live at 115 3rd Avenue, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, 08619. I'm here on behalf of my son for his daughter, so I'm here on behalf of my granddaughter. My son couldn't come, but he wrote a letter, and I just want to read it. It has to do with the zone waiver. I'm writing to appeal to you on behalf of my daughter, Ariana Roberts Woodall. Ariana was offered the choice of attending Nottingham or Steiner High School for the school year 2023-24. She was in 9th grade. After the school year began, the Office of Administration considered the offer to choose a high school was a mistake on their part. Then they determined that Ariana could go ahead and attend Steiner High School for this school year. No transportation was provided, nor any funds was provided for mileage or gas. And then on March 4th, we got a letter indicating that he needed to put in an application for a zone waiver. So he applied for the zone waiver and provided some documents from her IEP plan, from some, Ariana had been in, before he became custodial parent, she had been in foster care, and we didn't know it, but she had been in foster care. She's been in 2 other school districts. She's had a psychological exam, and so he was trying to advocate for her because we wanted to keep things stable for her. So we asked if they would let her go to Steiner this school year. It got denied. So I'm here appealing to the Board of Ed about this issue because we never got to talk to the Director of Administration. Any phone calls, we never got a call back. We only talked to his secretary, Ms. Rodriguez, who was adamant about not even hearing it. So that's why I'm here on behalf of my son. So I provided all of you with a copy of his letter, a copy of the letter from Mr. Adabello, giving her the choice, and then a copy of the March 4th letter about the zone waiver, and then the application, the first page of the application with some of the stuff that he indicated they should consider before making the decision. So thank you for your time.
Ms. Woodall, if you don't mind, could you just leave your contact information with Ms. Atwood, just your name and telephone number so that we can contact you to follow up, please? Thank you very much.
Just write it on the one copy of one little letter. That's your.
Peg Kirkhoff?
Thank you. Sure.
Good evening. My name is Peg Kirkhoff. I live in Hamilton. And actually, what I'm talking about here ties in with what Mr. Kanka was questioning. I did some looking up, and on the agenda that you just had, you said you passed the HIB report. Okay, that's fine. So you saw the HIB report. We as parents, grandparents, and citizens who pay for this school district did not see it. Now, according to, I did some research into this, and it says, the superintendent, principals, and the anti-bullying coordinator with input from the school's anti-bullying specialists shall annually conduct a reevaluation, reassessment, and review of the harassment, imitation, and bullying policy, and any report and/or findings of the school safety, school climate team. The superintendent shall recommend the board necessary revisions and additions to the policy consistent with NJS 18A. The superintendent, next N on the policy, is the superintendent shall report 2 times each school year, between September 1 and January 1, and between January 1 and June 30th, at a public hearing, all acts of violence, vandalism, harassment, intimidation, and bullying which occurred during the previous reporting period in accordance with the provisions of NJSA. Now, it says that this is to report it to the Board of Education and the New Jersey Department of Education. Why is this report not given to this meeting every month? Why do we not know what's going on in the schools? Every single school, whatever's on that HIB report that you have that is not publicized, we should know. We should know what schools are having what incidents, what grades are having what incidents, and what the punishments or repercussions, punishment is a bad word, what happens when they're done. This is our children going into school. This is something we have a right to know. This should be made a policy of this school board. If you're thinking about really creating any kind of transparency with what's going on in the schools, should not be the invisible cloak like in Harry Potter, where you go and, okay, you know what's there, why can't we know? I think that this is a very serious issue, and I'm really hoping that during the summer, there can be some mechanism through which you can honestly report to us what's going on. Because what I hear from the kids I go to school with and some of the teachers in the school district doesn't comply with, well, I guess it doesn't comply with anything because we don't know. We just don't know. That's not right. And that's my problem with this. Thank you.
John Muka?
Good evening, everybody. It's good to be here. Thank you for giving us some time to speak tonight. Hope you're enjoying your summer vacation. These vacations are not like they were when we were kids. That was a chance to really enjoy those. I want to speak about the book challenge to the bluest eye that was on the agenda for last month. Is that legitimate to speak about that now?
It's technically not on the agenda for this evening.
Would you prefer that I wait till the...
If you don't mind, I'll put you at the top of the list for the
Okay.
second hearing.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Muka. I appreciate you understanding. Okay, seeing that no one else has signed up for hearing of the public, we will move on to agenda items. Dr. Ferrara, can you take us through curriculum and instruction?
If you turn the air conditioning off, maybe. We're freezing on this side of the table.
Freezing over here too.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I move curriculum and instruction items number 1 through 12.
Second.
Do I have any questions on curriculum and instruction items 1 through 12? I'll start with Ms. Soto. No. Dr. Ferrara?
No.
Ms. Stanton?
No.
Ms. Harvey?
No.
Ms. Byrne?
No.
Mr. Kanka?
No.
Ms. Atwood, can you take us through? Oh, actually, before we do that, I just want to make a notation to all board members. On item number 9, please note that you are listed in it, so please abstain from yourself on that item for professional travel.
Just abstain from ourselves.
From yourself, yes, correct.
Ms. Soto?
I abstain for myself on number 9, yes to the rest.
Ms. Stanton?
Oh, I'm sorry. I abstain for myself from number 9 and yes to the rest.
Ms. Byrne?
I abstain, page 3, BB, and abstain, motion 11, yes to the rest.
Ms. Sellen, I'm sorry, Dr. Farrar?
Yes, I don't have to abstain.
Ms. Harvey?
Abstain on 9EE and yes to the rest.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Ms. Thornton?
Abstain on 9KK and yes to the rest.
Motion's pass.
Mr. Kanka, can you take us through finance and operation?
Upon recommendation of the superintendent, I move motions 1 through 16 under finance and operations.
Second.
Okay. Do I have any questions in regards to finance and operation? Mr. Kanka, I'll start with you. Do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay. Ms. Byrne?
I did have a question. Motion 8. For the occupational therapy, is that a yearly figure that we're looking at page 1?
Yes, that is a yearly figure.
Okay, is that just our special needs students that receive occupational? Okay, thank you.
That's not a special, not just special ed, Ms. Audino is saying.
So just by definition, what do we mean by occupational therapy?
Marty, you want to walk through what some of the occupational therapists do with our students?
Sure. So our students that receive occupational therapy are students that have fine motor deficits. So students that either have IEPs or students that have 504s receive those services. So we do have some occupational therapists that are on staff, and then we also contract those services. The reason that we did have an increase is that we also had a staff member that went on unexpected leave, so we had to increase some of our contracted services to provide the services to the students.
And does this occupational therapy take place during the school day or after the school?
It all takes place during the school day.
So they miss out on academics when they have to have occupational therapy, or?
They typically don't miss academics. It happens either during the WIN period at the elementary level or during a non-academic period at the secondary levels.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Ms. Byrne?
No, thank you.
Ms. Harvey?
No, thank you.
Ms. Stanton?
No.
Dr. Ferrara?
No.
Ms. Soto?
No.
Ms. Atwood, could you take us through roll call, please?
Ms. Soto?
Yes.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Dr. Farrar?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
I abstain on number 11, page 17 and 57, purchase order 2403675. Yes to the rest.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Motion passes. Motion's passed.
Thank you. Ms. Soto, can you take us through personnel agenda items, please?
Yes. On behalf of the superintendent, I make a recommendation to approve items 1 through 16.
Second.
Ms. Soto, do you have any questions in regards to personnel?
No.
Dr. Ferrara?
No.
Ms. Stanton?
No.
Ms. Harvey? No. Ms. Byrne?
No.
Mr. Kanka?
No.
Okay, I would like to go over, we do have some retirements on for this evening, and we always like to recognize our retirements. So we do have a teacher, a special education teacher at Reynolds Middle School, 13 years service to Hamilton, Paige Morales. Math teacher at Crockett Middle School, 24 years service to Hamilton, Sigrid Lord Maggio. Our speech language specialist throughout the district, 21 years service to Hamilton, Susan Bacall. and a secretary at Hamilton High West, 16 years service to Hamilton, Mary Lynn Kopek. We wish you all the best in your retirement, and we thank you for all your dedication to Hamilton. Ms. Atwood, if you could take us through roll call?
Ms. Soto?
Yes.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
What, are we on personnel?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to say no to motion 14 and yes to the rest.
Dr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
I'm going to abstain from number 7, line A3, B4, F5, and N42. Yes to the rest.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Motion's passed.
Thank you. So at this time, we're going to go through other business. I'll actually start with Mr. Kanka. Is there anything that you would like to discuss under other business?
Not one thing.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Kanka. Ms. Byrne?
Not at this time, Madam
Ms.
President.
Harvey?
I would like to address one issue that I did mention at last meeting. However, due to public feedback that I heard, I wanted to repeat that every parent has the right to say to the school that they don't want a student to take a book out of the library. That's your parent's right, and that's nothing that we stop. So that the issues of removing books are removing them for every student. But a parent, and we've mentioned this both last May, we mentioned it before when I had actually proposed a policy change to the book review process, the resource material policy. So this has been, I'm just repeating this for now, I think the 4th or 5th time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Ms. Stanton?
No, thank you.
Dr. Ferrara?
Yes. I would like to encourage my colleagues to read the article on cell phones on page 29 in the recent school leader that we received from NJSBA. It's very interesting to see how various districts have handled cell phone use in the last year. Also in the Daily Clips sent out today by New Jersey School Board is a story written by Adam Clark of NJ.com titled "School Cell Phone Ban Coming to New Jersey, Battle Lines Are Already Forming." There are also 2 stories in Chalkbeat yesterday about cell phone use in New York State schools, and the governor there is looking into, she's having a listening tour to see what's going on. Chalkbeat, by the way, is an online newspaper that covers education. I want everybody to know that HTSD has 2 policies pertaining to cell phone use. Policy 5516, which is a mandated policy. The policy makes clear that no student should use their personal devices to record other students or teachers or staff. It gives district principals broad authority to address cell phone misuse. Policy 2363 addresses the use of electronic devices in the classroom and outlines how teachers are allowed to handle the presence of those devices. Both of these policies are 8 years old. Several parents have reached out to me about cell phone use in schools, asking that the district do something about the problem. I will say personally, curbing cell phone use and abuse is something we all need to be involved in. The district cannot conquer this alone. The district can certainly rein in cell phone use during the day, but those of us sitting here also know that many challenges surrounding cell phone use and abuse happen when students are away from school at night and on weekends. As chair of the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, which oversees policy, I have asked the superintendent if we can review and modernize the 2 district policies. I personally always like to see students involved in these decisions. They are the ones who often know best how to communicate a problem and solution to their peers. And I believe intergenerational decisions have more strength to them. But at the moment, the superintendent has also been very clear about his expectations for cell phones, and he has outlined it in 2 community updates this year, and I'm going to read what the superintendent wrote. The school district reminds parents that providing a cell phone to their child is a big decision and should be accompanied by clear communication about responsible use, including restrictions on apps, social media, and the times the phone can be used. At elementary school, phones are not allowed unless medically necessary. At the middle schools, they must be put away in a backpack or locker, and at our high schools, students may have them, but there are specific rules about storage and use during school hours. HTSD stresses the importance of families talking about and understanding proper phone etiquette and being safe online. Lost or stolen phones are not the district's responsibility. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, Dr. Rocco, but I wanted to raise it.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. We've been addressing this, and it is a bigger problem than simply saying, don't bring a cell phone into school, or you can't take it out. It is a collaboration with families. The families are the ones who issue their children cell phones. Parents, me being included, typically pay for your child's cell phone service. So it goes both ways. We need to work together on this, and it is a problem. However, at the middle schools and the elementary schools, we've limited it, if not eliminated it. Even with those messages that have been sent out, I have received feedback from families, even at the elementary level, as young as second grade, about not wanting to agree with us limiting access or not allowing access at all. This is not a simple process. I would say right now, if I quietly and didn't tell anybody in this room, had the sound our phone makes when we get a message go out through the speakers, every one of you would have looked at your phone, including me, because we are conditioned to do that. So that is a process that we have to work with families and kids, and the kids should be involved in it, at least at the secondary level, to talk to them about that process. But what we also need is to not only talk about a ban on their use and their presence in the schools, but then the opposite, which is how do we have kids engage with each other, right? And that's the missing piece here, because when kids pick up the phone, we pick up the phone, we think we're engaging with somebody. We're not. We're engaging with a device. We need to teach everybody how to engage with each other again. And that's the important piece that needs to be embedded in this. And I know I'm getting on a soapbox, and it's your fault for telling me to make a comment about this. But I think it's important, if we're going to talk about it, is to be realistic about it. You can't simply say, shut it off, get rid of it, because we know, and some of you will shake your head when I say this, it'll either be your own child or a friend of your child who will have anxiety associated with not having access to it. So we need to phase it out and produce a way to make everybody feel as if we're doing this for the right reasons.
Thank you, Dr. Rocco. Ms. Soto?
No, I don't want to follow that. No.
Okay, so I actually, not on that subject, but just as a reminder to all board members, it is July, and we always do our school liaisons for September so that we can start with the new school year. So I just ask, I'm asking kind of early this year, so that if you have a school or a liaison that you would like to be part of, please email that to me so that I can get them all situated for the start of the school year, okay? I appreciate that.
Are we also going to talk about August meetings? Are we there yet?
For the August meeting?
Yeah,
No.
committees and the board meeting? Do we have dates?
Yeah.
So August 26th, I believe, is the next board meeting. We did change that. It was originally on the 21st last month. We did revise that, and that is on a Monday. So I will remind everyone, it's not our usual Wednesday. We are having that on Monday, August 26th. Location to be determined. And in regards to committee meetings, I believe we're still working on that. Okay, great.
So and your administrative liaison should be reaching out, but we did meet and we did talk in senior staff. Finance tentatively Tuesday, the 13th at 8:30 in the morning. Curriculum tentatively the 19th at 6:30 p.m. And personnel the 19th, tentatively the 19th at 4:15.
Thank you, Dr. Rocco. Okay. Seeing that there is no other discussion for other business, we will move to hearing of the public on school-related matters. Mr. Muka, I did say that I would move you up on the list to be the first speaker, but I do see that you are signed up to speak. Would you like to defer to your order, or would you like to speak first? Okay, thank you, Mr. Muka. So we'll start with Janice Glonick.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say, Janice Clonic, 432 Trinity Avenue, forgot, sorry. First, I would like to say, God bless the custodians working in this heat. More power to them. Okay, and for myself, I just have two things to review, which is shocking, but just two. Okay, the first one is cursive writing. Third grade introduces it, and I hope it's being practiced throughout the year. I also sincerely hope it's going to be put into the 4th and 5th grade curriculum this year. Like I had mentioned, all you need is 2 lessons a week for 20 to 30 minutes each, one to practice writing a printed sentence into cursive, and one to decode a cursive written sentence. No matter how you look at it, cursive is either a necessity or an enrichment. You can't lose when you learn it. Every one of these kids will come across it sometime later and will be glad they can read it and write it. It would be something Hamilton can be proud of. The second thing is the third kindergarten in Alexander. Kindergarten is the foundation of a child's learning. They learn all the skills to build their learning on for the next 11 years. We want them to have the best foundation possible. Our kindergarten teachers are great, but there's only so much they can do in the time they have, and there's so much one-on-one teaching. Plus, if you have discipline problems, this uses up your time. When you have 23 students and some are having difficulty, you need to spend 10 to 15 minutes with just them each day because there is no basic skills teacher. If a teacher tries to give each student in her class just 5 minutes of her personal time during the day, with 23 kids, that's almost 2 hours to fit into your schedule. If you remove 7 kids to make a class of 16, she now has 35 more minutes to help the kids with problems in 2 small minute groups every day, or to be able to enrich a lesson. We have the classroom at Alexander, but you want to give it to a preschool. You're telling our parents that these 6 preschoolers who don't even live in our area, the education is more valuable than the 46 kindergartners who live here, and that our kindergartners don't deserve the best education possible with a smaller class size. This is so unfair and wrong, especially when opportunities like this, when you actually have the room you can use, don't come around that often. And I really hope you reconsider this, because it will also affect the 1st grade for the following year, which is the 2nd most important grade in a child's learning career. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Klonick. Peg Kirkup?
Be a brief comment on a video I saw of the last meeting that did address the book issue. I just want to say that there was a board member during that meeting that said she didn't understand why books could be so threatening to people. Well, again, I have a question about that, because at a previous meeting, during the decommissioning process and how they were doing and why they were decommissioning books, old language was one of the reasons that was stated. So I'm kind of confused. If one part is not threatening, or should not be threatening, or is so threatening, or is not so threatening, why is the other one so threatening that needs to be decommissioned? Seems to me there's a double standard here. I don't understand it, but it's not right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kirkup. Mr. Muka?
Okay, hello again. My name is John Muka. I'm a lifelong Hamilton Township resident, and the topic for tonight is the book called The Bluest Eye. Let me just address some of the things that came up in the discussion at last meeting, and then I'll just come to the conclusion at a certain point. Now, I think all of you are good people. You're very sincere people. The problem is that good, sincere people sometimes make mistaken judgments and have a mistaken result. And this is the case for this particular book. Now, it's a case study in how we get along together in this community. So it's really not just about the one book, it's about the whole process. And that's where the problem really is. Okay, so the process was one of taking 15 months and bringing it to a conclusion by coming up with a secret committee that none of us were informed about, reached a decision, and the decision is final. Except I think there's an appeal process. One of the things that came up during the discussion last time was something called segments. Who speaks for what segment of the population of the Hamilton Township? Yes, we have segments. That's called diversity. And the strength of diversity is diversity of thought. And some of the segments disagree with some of the other segments on this particular book, as we do on other topics as well. But that's fine because we have a process to use. It's in the policy that would allow us to talk together, resolve our differences, and take communications and put it together with unity and make community actually happen. But since we didn't follow the policies, we weren't able to do that. So the result you came to, keeping the book on the shelf, completely unsupervised, and without any parental consent being available, is a mistaken conclusion. And in fact, it's invalid because you didn't follow the policies that govern how these decisions are supposed to be made. Now, it came to me that we could have come to a very appropriate compromise instead of it's either going to stay on the shelf or it's got to go. And those are always places where diversity of thought has got to be worked out together through communication. So if we had the informal discussion before the committee was appointed, if we knew who the committee was, if we had a chance to address our concerns with the committee and talk them over, we could have probably arrived at a conclusion that the book stays on the shelf as long as there's parental consent to a student using that book. And even better, it should be part of the curriculum, and it should be supervised by a teacher that knows how to handle the difficult material in that book. That would have been a much better outcome, and probably we could have all agreed upon that. But you short-circuited the whole thing because there was no discussion. So we can be proponents of diversity, we have to be practitioners, and we have to get together and talk, especially when it's a difficult topic like this one was. Now, there's a lot of comments about the AP exam that were erroneous. It's not necessary to have any familiarity at all with this book to pass the AP exam. It's one of 150 books, and the student has the choice of what book to use. So all that talk, I don't know what that was about. So let's try following the procedures of 9130. We should do this over again. It was an invalid process. There's multiple times in other policies where maturity level is supposed to be something that the superintendent considers before giving access to materials to the students. That's in several of the policies, maturity level. AP exam, what does that mean? It's college level material, and not all the students are mature enough to handle that. So I wish we could do it over again and do it right the next time, and let's talk to each other before we make these decisions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Muka. Fran Carroll?
Good evening, Fran Carroll. I'm glad there was some discussion tonight about the HIB report, but speaking of harassment and bullying and intimidation, which we don't accept from our students, right? There are consequences. We don't accept from our kids at home, I hope, and we hopefully don't accept that from our Board of Education members. So I just do want to, remind and ask about, I see that Board Member Anthony Celentano is not here tonight. I'm assuming that's because he had another commitment or just couldn't make it. As sometimes happens, I haven't heard that he's resigned or anything, so assuming that he is still on the board, which I kind of think is a travesty. Just to remind everyone that in April, he, at a board meeting, threatened physical violence on a member of the public as she was coming up to speak. And I was just wondering, so my question is there a way to find out if this is still being as part of an ethics complaint? Will we, if there is an ethics complaint, if that has been filed, is there a way that we're going to be notified of that? Is there going to be any notice, or how would I go about finding that out? Is there anyone in particular to write to? Because I'd like to follow up on that. I am glad that his seat is up this year. Hopefully he will not be on the board because of obviously the chilling effect and how, what a bad example for our kids to have that. I was also, and I think it might have been mentioned briefly, that disappointed this week that the McCorriston Charter School was approved, received final approval from the state. And so for obvious reasons, a lot of people share that concern about resources, as the district has said, the resources and the money that goes out to this school, which is not necessarily under our public, like Board of Education, control and, being accountable to the voters the way that the public schools are. But I will also point out that part of the incident that happened with Mr. Celentano in April related to some, if I put it kindly, stretching of the truth regarding his past support of charter schools and him trying to deny that, which also not a great example for our kids in terms of stretching the truth of something when we actually, there are his signature on documents, and he's been quoted in the newspaper, and a board policy actually had to be changed because a board member was trying to help establish a charter school, and board members didn't know about it, and the Board of Education actually changed a policy back then a few years ago. So just kind of disappointed about that. But I would like to follow up and find out if there is anything being done regarding any kind of ethics complaint, or how I would find that out. So you let me know.
Thank you, Ms. Carroll. So that does conclude the hearing of the public on school-related matters. So before we adjourn, I just wanted to wish everyone a wonderful rest of their summer. September will be here before we all know it, and a new school year will be starting. So please enjoy the rest of your summer. Try to stay cool. Sorry if it's a little cold in here, but when you walk outside, you'll appreciate how cold it is in here. So, motion to adjourn?
So moved. Burr, so moved.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Who seconded it?